Okay, here we have a problem. And our directions say complete the square and write the given equation in standard form. So this is a circle. So we want to make sure we know our standard form of the circle. If you didn't watch the completing the square video, you should if you don't know what completing the square means. So on this problem, we have x squared plus y squared minus 2x minus 6y minus 26 equals 0. So the instructions kind of help us out by telling us we're going to have to complete the square first. So what we need to do is you need to rearrange this problem. Okay, so you're going to rearrange the problem by rearranging the terms. So you want to get the x values together, and because they told us we have to complete the square, you are going to account for the value that we are going to find when we complete the square, which, remember, is the what? Is the constant term, because we are creating a perfect square trinomial. So I rearrange the terms so that my x terms are together and my y terms are together. And then this constant here, negative 26, again, look at the completing the circle video, completing the square video if you haven't already. We need to remove that to the other side because it's not part of either one of the trinomials. So I would move it to the other side by adding it to the 0. So now we have x squared minus 2x plus blank because we are going to find that c by completing the square. Then we have the y terms, y squared minus 6y plus blank, because we're going to complete that by completing the square. So then when we add the 26, we also have to account for the two c terms that we are about to create. So we are about to find the constant for the x value trinomials, and we're going to find the constant term for the y value of the trinomial. So first we're going to complete the square for the x's. So what does that mean? It means take the b term and divide it by 2, or take half. So 2 over 2 is 1. 1 squared is 1. So I add 1 there, and I cross and add it on the other side. Now I'm going to complete the square for the y trinomial. So it will be negative 6 over 2. And remember, you don't have to use the negative, because whatever you get is always coming out as plus. 9, 9. So we add that to each side. So what does that mean for the next line? Well, on the next line, you are going to simply factor each trinomial. So you rearrange your terms, you complete the square, and then you are going to factor. And you simplify on the other side. So underneath here, this trinomial factors into x minus 1 squared plus y minus 3 squared. So I factored each trinomial. And then on the other side, we are going to simplify. So 0 plus 26 plus 1 plus 9. So when we do that, we would get 36. Oh my goodness. It is the equation of the circle right there in my face. It's 3 steps. 3 steps. Okay, 3 steps. So from this, I know my center is 1 comma 3, and I know my radius is 6. So if you had to graph this on a graph, you would graph 1, 3, and then you would use your radius to count up 6, to count down 6, left and right, and then you would simply sketch your graph as best as you can. And that's my circle. And you would be good to go. Now you could, if you had to do domain and range, you could look at the graph, or you could use the method that I showed. The h component of the center minus the radius, the h plus the radius, the k minus the radius, the k plus the radius. So for the domain, I would do 1 minus 6, 1 plus 6. So the domain would be negative 5 to 7. For the range, I would do 3 minus 6, 3 plus 6. So the range would be negative 3 to 9. And that's how you would find domain and range, or you could just look at the graph and identify the ordered pairs there. So that is completing the square to get the equation of the circle. I'm going to pause it so we can do a second problem. Okay, so here we have another example, another problem we're working with. So we have to complete the square so that we can write the equation in standard form. So again, first step, rearrange your problem. You need the x's together, you need the y's together. You need any already constant terms to be moved to the other side. So x squared plus 4x plus blank plus y squared plus 4y plus blank equals. So this 4 here, because it's constant, has to relocate. So it'll be 0 minus 4. So now I'm going to complete my square. So I'm going to complete the square for the x. I'm going to complete the square for the y. And we also have to account for those terms that I'm going to create on the other side of the equal sign. So 4 over 2 squared, 4. This one's also a 4, so it's just going to be the same. So when we factor it, x plus 2 squared plus y plus 2 squared equals 4. So our center, negative 2, negative 2, the radius is 2. So negative 2, negative 2. And so with the radius being 2, we would just mark our point. Up 2, down 2, left 2, right 2. And then you can graph your circle. Okay, if you did have to find the domain, you could use the graph, or you could just use the rule like I told you. The domain is going to always be the x component of the center, which is called h. So h minus the radius, comma, h plus the radius. So in this case, it would be equal to negative 2 minus 2, negative 2 plus 2. So the domain is negative 4 to 0. The range would be the k minus the radius, the k plus the radius. So in this problem, it would negative 2 minus 2, negative 2 plus 2, negative 4, comma 0. Which if you look at the graph, that is exactly what the domain and range are. Okay? So that is how you complete the square and write the equation in standard form. I'm going to pause it for one more problem. Okay, so here we have this problem, and we have to complete the square so that we can get the standard form of the equation. So if you need your problem to be in the standard form of the equation, if you don't see it in this form with the parentheses squared plus the parentheses squared equal r squared or equal to some number, then you know that there's work to be done, which means you're going to have to complete the square. So I have to rearrange this because I need the center and I need the radius and I need the equation of the circle, but it's not in the format that I need it in. And the only way you're going to get it in the format you need it in is to rearrange it and complete the square. So I'm going to get my x terms together. I'm going to count for the term I'm going to create. Get my y terms together, account for the term I'm going to create. In this problem, the 12 was already on the other side of the equal sign. And so then I still have to account for the two values, those two constants that I'm about to create for the other side of the equation. So how do we complete this square? Pause this video and you see if you can do it. Okay, so what should have happened is you should have taken half of 6, squared it, and ended up with a 9, which is added to both sides. Then you should have taken half of negative 4, or just 4, halved it, and then squared that and got positive 4. So our next line would be us factoring x plus 3 squared, y minus 2 squared equals, so then 12 plus 9 plus 4, And then you should have, that would give us a 25. So our center here is negative 3, 2. And the radius would be 5. And so then if you have to plot it, you would plot it. If you need the domain and range, you would do that. So that is how we complete the square in order for us to write the circle equation in standard form.